Hi, it's Moira, and I am doing another video. Shocker. Surprise. Also, I'm Barty. This is the equivalent of if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. Don't mean that literally. I have not converted over to Slytherin Skittles. I'm Barty because today I'm going to be doing a deep dive on the Slytherin Skittles friend group and the Valkyries friend group. I was like, I could do Barty and then switch over to being Marlene for the Valkyries, but I realized that's too much effort. That means 2 days of filming and I don't want to do that. So we're just gonna be Barty. So first I'm going to talk about the Slytherins and then I'm going to talk about the Valkyries. First, why are they called the Slytherin Skittles? What? The Slytherin Skittles started as a joke in the early 2020s on TikTok, as most things do, and they're called it because they're all in Slytherin. They're all the Slytherin characters, and they're gay. And Skittles has a rainbow on it, so they're gay. Important to note, a lot of people do not like this name. Many people who like the Slytherin Skittles, who are in this part of the fandom, don't like it either. That's what they're called. Everything within them started as a joke, but then became genuine, like all things in this fandom. When people say that they're the Slytherin Skittles, do they think of the red, like, original Skittles, or are we talking the green sour Skittles? Because I feel like it should be the green sour Skittles, because green cause Slytherin and they're sour, and also, in my opinion, the sour Skittles are the best Skittles. I give you that. So, who are the characters of the Slytherin Skittles? So, we have Regulus Black, Barty Crouch Jr., Evan Rosier, Dorcas Meadows, and Pandora Rosier / Lovegood. Although commonly when we're talking about the Slytherin Skittles, 9 times out of 10 people call her Pandora Rosier. And the fan casts for these characters, for Regulus, it is Timothy Chalamet, or if you're me and some of the people in my comments, Dorian Demoja from Mischief Productions. Barty Crouch Jr.'s fan cast is Maxence Dennett Fusvel, or David Tennant, young David Tennant, or a common fan cast also from the Mischief Productions is Arion. I hope I'm saying his name right. Sorry if I'm not, because we love the Mischief Productions here. Okay, and then Evan's fan cast is often Casper von Pulau, I still don't know how to say that man's name. Dorcas Meadows is commonly fan cast as Zoe Kravitz or Phyla Lala. It's the way that I cannot pronounce a single Slytherin Skittles fan cast name. And Pandora Rosier's fan cast is commonly Elle Fanning. The fan casts of the Rosier siblings twins are white, but a lot of fan art does depict the Rosier siblings as black, and a lot of people headcanon them as black. Just want to mention that because I just love to break down dynamics and shit. We're going to explain the characterization of these characters. So I'm going to start with Regulus Black because he is my favorite. Duh. Regulus Black. First thing I wrote is poor little Meow Meow. I stand by this. I still do. He is a poor little Meow Meow. He's a complicated dude. He was kind of forced into Death Eater stuff, though he did want to be a Death Eater at one point. However, he did betray Voldemort, serve cunt, and then die. He's the reason why Harry Potter was able to defeat Voldemort, like one of the reasons why he was the first person to find out about the Horcruxes, so we love that for him. He gets a Dark Mark at 16 after Sirius fails to get it the year before. Sometimes he's headcanoned as an animagus, and he's a black cat. I don't know why he's an animagus. Like, the Marauders have reasons for being animagus. Did Regulus just want... I don't know. That is a headcanon for him that I've failed to mention up until this point, but yeah, some people do imagine him as a black cat. Regulus is... he's like calm and composed on the surface, but then like internally everything is going to hell in his mind. He can be nice, but at the same time he can be like the cruelest member out of these 5. I talked about Regulus Black way too much on this channel. Okay, I need to stop. Next is Barty Crouch Jr. Okay, I never realized that that was a meme because, admittedly, Goblet of Fire is one of my least favorite Harry Potter movies. So sorry, so sorry. And I never realized that that was like a meme until I got into this fandom and everyone was quoting it. He is less of a poor little Meow Meow. He always wanted to be a Death Eater, and he becomes one. He technically has the most screen time out of like any of the Marauders era characters, excluding Wolfstar, because of the Goblet of Fire, and that's very funny. That's so funny. A big thing about him is that he hates his dad. Like, he is the daddy issues character. His father was neglectful and didn't like care for him, There's a whole lot about this in like canon Harry Potter. His house isn't actually stated, but he's commonly obviously in Slytherin because he's a Slytherin Skittle. But some people do headcanon him to be in Ravenclaw. I think it was like he was supposed to canonically be in Ravenclaw, but if you look, that's not actually stated anywhere. It just says that he was smart canonically. And so people were like, oh yeah, he was a Ravenclaw, when that was never actually stated. A big thing for him, he's chaotic. He is like the most chaotic, extroverted member of these 5 friends. He is insane. He's insane. He's like unhinged, chaotic, a mess. Yep. Evan Rosier. I read something that said his characterization is all over the place, and yeah, 'cause I couldn't find any like solid descriptions of this man. So like Barty, he wanted to be a Death Eater, though I can't really find why, because so Barty wanted to be a Death Eater to like spite his dad, like to do the opposite of everything that his father wanted. Evan, as far as I can tell, did not have a reason. He just wanted to be a fucking Death Eater. I think he's commonly like sarcastic, and he has like a bit of a bite, but he's not as mean as like Regulus and Barty are. I'm guessing that making him siblings with Pandora influenced his characterization to be more like chill, because you know, they're related, so they'd have to like share some attributes, and Pandora's like the most chill out of these 5 characters. Blonde bad boy. Still keeping with that characterization, that is still key here. His essence is a bad blonde boy. Blonde bad boy. This is breaking me. Guys, anytime that I talk about the goddamn Slytherin Skittles on this channel, my brain short circuits. It short circuits. Dorcas Meadows. She's canonically the most powerful character in the Marauders era. Let's go, queen. Yeah, I genuinely believe that if she'd lived, Lily and James would have survived. Therefore, she had to die for the whole story to happen. Yeah, so she gets personally killed by Voldemort. I've seen her associated with blueberries. Do I know why? No. There are certain things within the Slytherin Skittles where it's like, I don't know what corner of the internet I have to go to understand, but I don't want to go there. She's on the Quidditch team with Regulus. Regulus is on the Quidditch team. Did not mention that for his, but he's there. She's also there. Sporty friends, for real. She has very chill vibes and like a chill characterization. She was a part of the Order, like in canon. She's also therefore the only Slytherin who was in the Order of the Phoenix. In fanon, she's not really friends with the Marauders, like the guys, but she does know and like the girlies. The Valkyries. Very common thing is that she goes crazy because of Marlene being killed, and that perhaps she knows that Peter's the spy, so Voldemort kills her personally, because if Dorcas knew that Peter was responsible for the death of Marlene and is the spy, there's nothing is going to stop Dorcas. Because Dorcas is the most powerful character here, so Voldemort is like, oh, okay, wait, you have to go. Pandora Rosier. She's a sweetheart. She's very kind. Not really connecting why she'd be friends with people who do hate crimes, but you know, whatever. I guess it's like the Rosiers are siblings, so it's like Evan's friends are also Pandora's friends. She's very commonly headcanoned as a seer, so there's like buckets of angst there because she like watches all of her friends die, and she also watches all of her close friends turn into wizard fascists, and she can't do anything to stop that. She is either a Ravenclaw or a Slytherin. While I was doing my research, I found a lot of like Ravenclaw Pandora, but like that doesn't really make sense because it's the Slytherin Skittles. Why is there a Ravenclaw in the Slytherin Skittles? Why does nothing about these people, this subgenre of this fandom make sense? One thing I definitely learned is that like the Marauders fanon, the Valkyries fanon, all of that, it's, you know, it's obviously silly. There is like, you know, foundations to it. Like there's things that are like set in stone, and like they're plausible. It makes sense, you know. It's not all bouncing off the walls chaos everywhere. The Slytherin Skittles, that does not apply. So those are essentially their personalities. Common ships within the Skittles. The main ones are Rosekiller, which is Barty and Evan, Bardyless, which is Barty and Regulus, Dorleen, which is Dorcas and Marlene, Pandalily, Pandora and Lily, and Jegulus, which is James and Regulus. I also wrote Pandorcas ? Because in my brain I'm like, yeah, it would make sense for people to ship Dorcas and Panda together because they're the girls in the friend group and they ship all the guys with each other, but apparently not. I'm not going to break down these ships because I've done a whole video breaking down Marauders ships in too much detail. If you want to hear about these ships in detail, go watch this Okay. Common friendships within the Skittles, like the biggest ones that you'll see people like make specific content focused on, are Barty and Regulus when Rose Killer is a thing. So if Barty's dating Evan, he'll be like besties with Regulus. Pandora and Dorcas is a big friendship. Regulus and Pandora, and Barty, Evan, and Regulus is also a friend dynamic that you'll see a lot of content about. My personal favorite here is Regulus and Pandora. Also, there is like this one image that came out of like a movie that both Timothée Chalamet and Elle Fanning were in, and I think that that's where 90% of the characterization of Pandora came from. Because this is my channel, of course we're going to talk about the aesthetics. I love the aesthetics of this fandom. So the Slytherin Skittles aesthetic is very much Slytherin aesthetic. Dark green. Love the color. We love the color green here. It's very much like grungy, like almost like Tumblr grunge. There's one thing that I noticed specifically about the Slytherin Skittles, and it's that every other like friend group and like part of the fandom, like subgenre of this fandom, they all focus now in the current day. They all focused a lot on the 70s aesthetic, and so a lot of the characters, like cosplays you'll see, a lot of the fan art, it typically stays pretty era compliant, I guess. Slytherin Skittles kind of exists outside of that. Often people, I will see them actually give them like a 90s aesthetic instead. The edgy stoner kids. Like, that's literally how I see them portrayed. And each character has like obviously their own aesthetics, like Regulus, water aesthetic. Pandora is very like flowery, super cutesy because she's a sweetheart. Evan, I don't know, I'll just put images. I can't think of what his aesthetic would be because I can't figure this man out. Barty is like chaotic stuff, hair dye aesthetic, just insanity. Insanity the aesthetic, but with David Tennant there. Dorcas is like very like crystally aesthetic, blueberries. I kept seeing blueberries. Did I write that shit down? No. Did I do that off the top of my head? Yes. I need to summarize this part. We're gonna summarize this. Talking about the Slytherin Skittles, I have to talk about the discourse. I've been asked like multiple times to make like a full video on this, and you know, I appreciate that you guys really want like my personal opinion and that you want to hear me talk about this. For my own sake, that is not going to happen. I'm just going to summarize this here right now. Just because I am someone who has literally written essays on media literacy, and I go actually insane over this. Not in a good way necessarily. And I know that I am not capable of doing a whole video on this without going actually insane. Many people dislike the Slytherin Skittles subgroup of the fandom because they're Death Eaters. The way that I think about it, in my personal opinion, is that if the Slytherin Skittles are like an ocean, I basically roll my pants up and like I get my feet wet and like I walk in a little bit, but I can't swim because my morals are like buzzing in my ear. I can't bring myself to feel empathy for these characters because they're wizard Nazis. The way that I feel is I side-eye people who try to defend and justify Rose Killer's actions, but I don't fight them and like I won't square up or like block someone who does this. However, that is my own personal comfort level. If other people deeply have an issue with the Skittles as a fandom, they have a right to feel upset. Just because the Slytherins as a part of the fandom isn't as deep a concern to me as it is other people, that doesn't take away other people's feelings and upset about it. I am not going to sit here and say that justifying the actions of fictional characters isn't that serious or it isn't that deep, because for different people it can feel very serious and very deep to them, and I'm not going to make anyone feel like they have no right to be upset. I'm not going to diminish or invalidate anyone's feelings. Everyone views it differently based on what lens they engage with media through. Different people are going to have different outlooks on fandom and how they engage with fandom. For some people, they think of it very high moralities. No, high mortality. Is mortality death? This is serious, and now I'm okay. What the fuck was I even saying? Girl, help. Some people view fandom with a very high morality. Their sense of right and wrong is very strong, and so they engage with it very specifically. For other people, they don't care. For them, it isn't as important that the fandom that they're engaging with is like technically moral or right. And so because of that, the whole fandom is split in many different ways on this group of the fandom, and like everyone has a right to feel how they feel. Some people could think that me just cosplaying Barty is wrong because he was a bad person. You're valid to feel that way. Me, I'm cosplaying him because it's funny. Not because I like him, but because it's funny. But other people do cosplay him, and they think that what he did was okay, because they don't think of fandom that deep. The last thing I'm ever going to do is tell you that fiction doesn't affect reality. If the Slytherin Skittles deeply bothers you on a personal level, you're entitled to feel that way. If it's just a silly, fun thing that you engage with, and it just makes you happy, and you think of it very detached from canon, and you kind of push the fact that they were Death Eaters aside, and you just like their vibes, that's also an opinion that you can have, and you're entitled to have your fun, right? Girl, I said I was gonna summarize. I've been talking about this for 8 minutes. Oh my god. This is why I can't make a video talking about this, because I will never shut up, because I have so much to say. There is so much to be said. I would be very interested to hear your opinion on Slytherin Skittles, because everyone has a different opinion, and so I'd be interested to hear how you guys feel. I can't keep talking about this because I cannot summarize how I feel. We're ending this part now. We're moving on to the Valkyries, and now it's the part of the video where Barty Crouch Jr. explains the Valkyries. Why the Valkyries? Why are they called the Valkyries? The same thing. This term was created in the 2020s on TikTok. The actual reason for the name Valkyrie is, in Norse mythology, a Valkyrie is a female soldier slash goddess type figure. I can't speak on Norse mythology. I don't, like, actually know. Guys, I just know internet brain rot and the marauders. The name applies to the girls because they're badass women. I personally like this term a lot more than the Slytherin Skittles, because it sounds a lot cooler and it makes a whole lot more sense. The Valkyrie characters are kind of split into like 3 groups. So the first group is the OG characters, which are Lily Evans, Marlene McKinnon, and Mary McDonald. They were the first people to be in like the Valkyries. They're typically the first people that come to mind when you mention the Valkyries. The term kind of expanded to include more characters, so the second group, Dorcas Meadows and Pandora Rosier, which is where the overlap comes between the Slytherin Skittles and the Valkyries, which is why partly I did this in the same video. The third inclusion, the third little group, is Emmeline Vance and Alice Fortescue. I do not know how to say her name. Commonly now it is Lily, Marlene, Mary, Dorcas, and Pandora, with sometimes Emmeline and Alice. The fan casts for these characters, so Lily is Annalise Basso and Sophie Skeleton. Marlene McKinnon is Sophie Thatcher and Biba Doobie. Mary McDonald is fan cast as Sophia Bryant. Dorcas is still Zoe Kravitz and Phyla Lella, and Pandora is still Elle Fanning. Emmeline Vance is commonly fan cast as Nahyung Hong, and Alice Fortescue is fan cast as Daniel Gilligan, which is why if you watch Nola Flower edits, everyone in the comments will be going, why is Nina Zenik here? Because she's fan cast as Alice. Same thing that I did for the Skittles. We're going to break down these characters. So first, Lily Evans. She is the girl. I've talked about her many times on this channel, so I'm going to keep it more brief. She's very headstrong and has strong morals. She's stubborn and she knows what she wants. She is mother, and she is the mother. She's very kind, but she's also not afraid to speak her mind. A gorgeous goddess, essentially. Lily becomes friends with Mary and Marlene very early on in their Hogwarts years. They are dorm mates for like the whole time, just like how the Marauders were dorming together for the whole time. Marlene McKinnon, she is also the girl. They are all the girl. Whereas I don't have many opinions on the Slytherin Skittles outside of me just loving Regulus. I love all of these girls with my whole heart. Let's go lesbians. We know that I love lesbians on this channel. So Marlene is a badass punk lesbian who I adore. She's also very headstrong like Lily, and she has a very strong sense of right and wrong. In all the young dudes, she's a medic, so I personally associate her with medicine. Although I've never really seen other people talk about that, but that is just lasting in my own mind. So the thing about her that I failed to mention when I talked about her in my first video essay on the Marauders is that her and her whole family get murdered by Voldemort. That's not great. So she's like Barty and sometimes gets given highlights, except instead of green, hers are pink, and I love that for her. She's commonly headcanoned to like music and to play the guitar, specifically a red guitar. She's also on the Gryffindor Quidditch team. She is like a sporty lesbian. Mary McDonald. The first thing I wrote down for Mary was, marry the woman you are. She's loud and bubbly. Dare I say the most extroverted Valkyrie? I think I do. She's a sweetheart and she's a great friend. She's very, very loyal to her friends. She doesn't put up with bullshit. She knows herself. She's very composed. And she's pretty independent. Like she deals with her own stuff. She's tough. She likes fashion and girly things, and she isn't ashamed of her interests. She doesn't hide them. She owns them. I've already talked about Dorcas and Pandora's characters, so we're just gonna skip them because, you know, I talked about them 20 minutes ago. Emmeline and Alice are basically like Narcissa and Bellatrix's age, like around there. Commonly like known to be around like 5 to 7 years older than the other girls, but they are sometimes included in like the Valkyries, and sometimes people do put them in like the same or similar closer years together in Hogwarts. Emmeline Vance is a character that I haven't mentioned yet on my channel. She is a character that is in the Marauders, obviously, but she's just not very commonly talked about. She was in the First Order and the second one. She was one of the only characters that I've talked about so far to survive this first war. Wait, let me think. I think there's 5 characters who survived the war, and that's Pandora, Barty, Emmeline, Remus, and Mary. And I'm pretty sure that those are the only characters to survive. So she's one of those. She survives the first war, but she dies in the second. And it's Snape's fault. Snape is the reason why she dies. Common L. Snape. She's commonly headcanon as a Ravenclaw or a Hufflepuff. 9 times out of 10, though, I saw her as a Ravenclaw. She's very organized and tidy. She's kind of giving Pandora but like older sister energy. And then I wrote, OMG, Emmeline totally gives older sister energy. She was commonly known to be like very good on a broom, and she was very good in duels. Commonly headcanoned as Asian, I think specifically Southeast Asian, but I've also seen some Latina and Hispanic headcanons for her. Alice Fortescue. So canonically, she got tortured into insanity by Bellatrix. That's great. And possibly also Barty. Like, he was there, but it was not stated if he actually participated in that, but I always assumed that he had. She's commonly shipped with Narcissa, and like I said in my ship video, I feel like her personality is very similar to Narcissa, because it's like, I feel like you can't date Narcissa Black without matching her energy, unless you're Lucius Malfoy. Okay, so she's headstrong, confident, not afraid to speak her mind. Because she's Neville's mom, I would imagine that she's like a little bit silly, you know, like she's a mask, for sure. Common Valkyrie ships within their friend group. Mary Lily, which is Mary and Lily. Maryline, which is Marlene and Mary. Dorleen, which is Dorcas and Marlene. Mary, or Emma Mary, which is Emmeline and Mary. Important to note here, when people are shipping Mary, it is like under the context of Emmeline and Mary being in the same year or like near the same year. They're not shipping a first year with a 7th year. Okay. The other common ship that you'll see is Panda Lily, which is Pandora and Lily. Common friendships that you'll see content focus on: Mary, Lily, and Marlene, Pandora and Lily, and obviously Mary and Marlene, who are like the OG best friends. I would also imagine that there is content about Alice and Emmeline being friends, but I couldn't specifically find that, but I'm just gonna mention it. I'm just gonna throw it out there that that is probably also a thing. Their individual aesthetics. Lily is very much flower aesthetics. Marlene's aesthetic is very much punk music type vibe going on. Mary's aesthetic is very fashiony and it's more like bold. Emmeline's aesthetic is tidy, I would imagine blue because, you know, Ravenclaw. And then Alice is more similar to Marlene's aesthetic, where it's more kind of just like rough and like mask. So that's the Valkyries and the Slytherin Skittles. Like I said, there's a lot about the Slytherin Skittles that I just cannot bring myself to get into, but if you guys want to like explain your own reasonings for if you like them, if you don't like them, I'd be interested to hear what other people's personal opinions of that are. If you asked me to choose between the Slytherin Skittles and the Valkyries, I would definitely choose the Valkyries. I can understand now why people do like the Slytherin Skittles, like especially if you do gravitate towards like the villain characters in stories. It makes sense that people would kind of make up their own group of like villains within the Marauders, because there aren't really like the only other villain characters that people talked about were like Snape and Mulciber, and who wants to create a fandom of Snape and Mulciber? I don't think anyone wants that, okay? I'm sorry if this one wasn't as like deep. It's just that there's a lot about like the marauders, but then when you start getting into these smaller groups, there becomes a whole lot less like cemented fanon. Realize that I've managed to go almost this entire video without shouting out the Mischief Productions donate link, so feel free to do that. I still want to see the movie. This hasn't changed. The reason why I constantly shout out the Mischief Productions is because they are currently trying to raise funds to start production of their big movie, and if they don't reach that goal within a certain amount of time, they won't be able to. That's why I have been shouting them out like all the time. Because it's like a time-sensitive thing. I don't think I've explained that yet so far, so yeah. Once again, thank you guys for all the support. I've hit 1,000 subscribers, which I actually cannot process, and I refuse to because I will cry. Thank you. I love you guys all so much. It has been so fun being able to make these videos for you guys. I am genuinely shocked every day that people actually want to listen to me yap, but I appreciate you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.